Hello, this is Jerry Mitchell, and we are back for another episode of Libertarian Censored Podcast, going over all the posts on the Libertarian Censored subreddit. So first we have, U.S. becomes top LNG export after overtaking Australia and Qatar from Bloomberg.com by Chabanay. And I think that's good. It's always good when you're able to export stuff, because that's good for the economy. So I think that is a good thing, I would say. Then we have Polish farmers to resume blockade of Ukraine border crossing. The Polish farmers suspended their protest, which aimed to secure government subsidies for corn and prevent tax hikes on December 24th. Polish truck drivers have been blocking border crossings of Ukraine since November from Chabanay from news.yahoo.com. And I definitely think if people want to enforce the border, they should be able to. And even if a country's at war like Ukraine, I think that would be, I think I would probably want to enforce the border in that instance, because you might have a lot of deserters coming through it and trying to get out of the war. But then again, I support free travel as a libertarian, but it's also important to remember that people do have a connection to borders, and I personally don't really care for borders. But if you want us to enforce them, that is on you. I think enforce what you want as long as you're not hurting anyone else. Then we have Vegas adopts law against pedestrians stopping on public walkways from thestreet.com by Zach Ness. And, I think that is, I think that's too authoritarian. I think if pedestrians want to stop, I don't think the government should tell them to stop or not. And I think that's what I think of that issue. Then we have Argentine court suspends labor charges in a blow to President Milei's economic plan from APnews.com by Coastal Schmostal. And I definitely think if the court wants to suspend something, they should be able to. But if people want to see, people shouldn't be forced to view the court as their as legitimate if they don't want to. And I think that's what I think the courts, in a lot of instances, they make the wrong decision. So it's ultimately, their rulings are ultimately, I would say, more subjective rather than objective. That's my thoughts on that issue. So let's move on. Next we have John Stossel, are you a taker or a maker, from thedailytimes.com by Chabanay. And I said, I didn't comment on this one, but I definitely think society's definitely pushing for more takers than makers right now, and you definitely see it when it comes to who the media pushes to idolize. More people, more so, as I said in the video I posted from John Stossel, the same subject. They're pushing more for people to be like Elizabeth Warren and less like Elon Musk, and that's why increasingly when you have our society will have no one to make but everyone to take, and then what's going to happen? I don't think it will be pretty. That's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Epstein docs that have been released from Doctor Who 07, and they said it was a digitalized version of the flight logs. The original version of the flight logs, the best source I found for the unedited depositions, better source I found for the most releases. And I said, not surprising this guy was on there, and I linked to a tweet from ChessChick01, what's her name, Natalie F. Danielson, and it was an article from Alan M. Dershowitz, Statutory Rape is an Outdated Concept. So not surprising that guy was on there. I think they're probably all on there. The elites, they can do whatever they want, and no one will hold them accountable for it. Even since he's been named on it, Bill Clinton, he's not going to be held accountable, because he has money, power, and influence on his side. So I definitely don't think he'll ever be held accountable. Then we have SpaceX workers who criticized Elon Musk for being a distraction and embarrassment were legally fired in retaliation, NLRB alleges. From Fortune.com by LinkedIn. And, I personally don't think that's very libertarian, but I would say a private corporation can fire whoever they want for whatever reason they want. So that's my thoughts on that issue. I think we need to emphasize freedom of association, and I think we should. I think this does constitute cancel culture a bit, but we do need to remember freedom of association as well. And if Elon Musk doesn't want workers that criticize him, then that's on him. Then he should have the ability to fire them. That's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Trump received millions from foreign governments as president, reports finds from nytimes.com by Kage blah blah blah. And, yeah, I definitely think, Trump's more par for the course. I think they all probably are corrupt grifters, but Trump, New York Times only seems to be concerned when Trump does it. So that's my thoughts on that. They're definitely out of a bias, I would say, against Trump and, supporting Biden, Obama, and all whatever the official DNC narrative is. Just like Reddit, I would say, that's increasingly Reddit. Just you can't dissent from the DNC narrative at all without them coming after you for it. Then we have satire. Colorado Supreme Court votes to remove Bill Clinton from Epstein client list from News That Matters on Twitter. And I posted that, and I said, I'm sure they would if they could. And I linked to another post from there, as I said, from News That Matters. This is LOL. Hillary Clinton texts her hitman, how much would it cost to kill the whole internet? If she would, she probably could. If she could, she probably would. It's, that's what the Clintons do. They have the whole Clinton body account. That's increasingly seems like, if you dissent at all, you're gonna get come after by someone or something at this point. So you gotta stand your ground and try and stand up for free speech while you still can. That's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Islamic State claims responsibility for suicide bombings that killed dozens in Iran from NPR.org by Zatsness. And I said, haven't heard people talking about ISIS since like 2017. People are too busy circle jerking about MAGA and Trump, I think. So, ISIS is kind of a background story now. So that's why I think that where that comes from. Then we have Apocalypse Now, the government's use of controlled chaos to maintain power from Refer.org from Chabanay. And I definitely do think, you're seeing that these days with narco-tyranny and how the government lets people go if ever they want, if it serves to benefit them. But if they dare dissent from the government, then suddenly they're held to the fullest extent of the law. And that's something that I think is very unlibertarian. The government increasingly just allows violence when it benefits them, and that's not libertarian. And we have a study published this week by Center for Justice Research, a partnership between the Office of Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost and Bowling Green State University, revealed gun crime decreased in 6 of Ohio's 8 large cities following the implementation of the constitutional carry law from the OhioStar.com by Chabanay. And I definitely think that is. I think that might be that's a positive thing. I don't know if its correlation is a response for causation there, but I definitely think that is a positive trend. Then we have New Hampshire House passes Defend the Guard Act from blog to 10thAmendmentCenter.com by Chabanay. I like what Baton 13 commented on. It'd be nice if this had been in place before we sent them to Iraq or Afghanistan. And I agree with that, I personally think, if you want to be in the National Guard, ultimately it is at the governor's discretion where they send you. But I'm glad we at least can limit use the acts like this to limit where the National Guard can send people, at least for now, it seems. Then we have 6 trigger killed and 5 others injured in Iowa school shooting from archive.ph, and that's an archive link for New York Times by Dr. Who 07. And I said, it looks like the shooter was angry for having their air group. They had their pride flag on the riot on TikTok, and I shared a tweet from Libs of TikTok that showed that. So we can expect the narrative will be to push for more gun control rather than focus on the threat of white supremacist violence. Ultimately, I think, it's going to be like, this one was probably going to be mostly memory hold, except for by the right-wingers. They're going to turn this into like another Nashville shooting, like Nashville shooting from last year when the transgender person shot up Nashville Christian school. They're going to turn that into another thing that, so that's the thing, people don't really care about violence other than that they can use it to suit their narratives. I like what the LP Texas official posted here, Remy, how to react to tragedy, and it's all about a song about how people use tragedies to push their political agendas and beliefs. And that's why, it's people really don't care anymore. It's all just be used to push an agenda. Now we have Philly Police DEI officer Leslie Morant fired hours before Kevin Bethel sworn in as police commissioner. Morant did not have law enforcement experience before starting in her role as a department DEI officer from Inquirer.com by Chabanay. And I definitely don't think that just goes to show you a lot of DEI stuff. I think is really just kind of, grifting and just saying it pull buzzwords. You don't even have to have an experience. You can just walk right in there if you have the right skin color, gender, and say the right buzzwords. Then we have, looks like Amos Miller's farm is being raided. With all these problems in society today, this is what the government wants to focus on: a man growing food for informed customers without participating in the industrial meat/milk complex. It's shameful that's come to this. From Thomas Massey on Twitter. And I was just quote tweeting a tweet from Lancaster the Patriot of some of the Fed storming Amos Miller's farm. And I said, I shared an article on this here a while ago. I think if people want to consume raw milk, it could be deadly, but if people want to consume raw milk and know the risk of doing so, they should be able to. The libertarian perspective is against prohibition like the war on drugs. We shouldn't have the government enforcing. If people want to make their own food, they shouldn't have to be required to have all these licenses. They should be able to be like Amos Miller and just, as long as there's consent, that's all that matters. The government shouldn't have any say in it. So that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have a recent Wyoming Supreme Court decision finds that police can enter homes if they believe they have permission from WyomingPublicMedia.org by Chabanay. And I definitely don't think that's libertarian, Now, you used to need a warrant, but now, thanks to the Patriot Act, you don't need a warrant anymore, and now this is the new norm. So that just goes to show you how bad things are getting in regards to that, how little they care for the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. The fastest soft launch was a confusing, glitchy disaster from Reason.com by 2010 with Charm. And I agree with that. Every time the government seems to set up its own websites, it always seems to be a disaster. I remember the launch of the Obamacare website was a disaster as well, and just goes to show you, no one can be more incompetent than the government when it comes to pretty much anything. Then we have Free Economic Myths That Need to Die from Reason.com by 2010 with Charm. And I'll check. Let's see what they are. The one that many years of unchecked globalization has eroded America's industrial foundation. I definitely think, if people want to think that globalization's kind of ruin America, I think they have some good cases for both sides of the argument. I personally think, it's gotten a lot of materials for cheaper, but it has kind of gotten rid of the manufacturing industry, and that's why America is so stressful right now. A lot of it is the transition to a service economy that is been hard for a lot of people. Then we have Ray Epps tells judge how January 6th conspiracy theories overwhelmed his family from the Independent.com by Clorox. And I said, the alpha media always try to make Epps look sympathetic. I definitely think he is a Fed. Then we have the Washington Post University of Maryland poll conducted last month found that 36% of respondents believe that President Biden's election was illegitimate, a 7-point increase from 2 years ago from the EpochTimes.com by Chabanay. And, increasingly, if people want to find the elections as illegitimate, I think they should be able to. I personally think, they're all arguably illegitimate because ultimately, only two parties can really win them, and the narrative around them is controlled as hard as hell. So I personally think they're all illegitimate at this point. That's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Lights Out in America from Quillette.com by 2010 with Charm. And that's a story of how the cowardice of Americans who support liberal coalitions is damaging democracy. And I agree. Stuff like the New York Times, CNN, MSNBC, pretty much everything are only going to toe whatever the DNC tells them to do, and you're not allowed to dissent at all. And that's why we increasingly everyone sees them as frauds, because they are frauds. And I'm glad I hope we start to see them die off in the next couple of years. Then we have how Australian law pushes vulnerable women toward hiring male carers from Quillette.com by 2010 Charm. And I said, hadn't heard of Quillette until Michael Mouse was tweeting this article a few days ago, and that was he tweeted, in case you're wondering how badly Quillette is degenerated, there are at least articles complaining about his illegal discriminating against hiring men. And, I definitely think if people want to hire men, they should be able to. I don't think the state should push people to hire anyone, but I definitely don't think, it shouldn't be illegal to hire people either. And increasingly you want people to make people want to force you to hire certain people. I don't think that's something that is a libertarian perspective. Then we have the Southern Poverty Law Center's new enemy, Americans Who Accept Biology from Quillette.com in 2010 with Charm. And I guess I kind of agree with that one. if you dissent at all, if you dissent at all from the DNC narrative, you're going to get put on the SPCL senators list these days, and that's not something that's libertarian. We need to hold the SPCL accountable, and hopefully they'll be held accountable, and hopefully they'll go under soon, and be a relic of the past, like all the other media bullies that you see these days. And we have Sorry President Biden, but nobody wants a glorified golf cart from RealClearWire.com by Charbonnet. And I would agree with that. People want big cars, not small cars usually. But under Biden, you'll probably only be able to get small cars because that's all his environmental policies will allow. Then we have Carrefour boycotts Pepsi's co-snacks, drinks, and latest price campaign. The supermarket giant's latest backlash against consumer products and manufacturers follows the shrinkflation campaign launched in September when PepsiCo was all Stargate along with Nestle, Unilever, and LinkedIn Sprungel from JustFood.com by Charbonnet. And yeah, I definitely don't think I definitely think shrinkflation is bad, and if Carrefour wants to take out PepsiCo stocks, they should be able to. But with that being said, not just PepsiCo is doing shrinkflation now, they pretty much all are, and that's because inflation's really bad right now, and I think it's only going to get worse as time goes on. Then we have Bill Ackman's wife is accused of plagiarism after her husband crusaded against Harvard's president over the same problem, from Fortune.com by Kage blah blah blah. And this is just another I would say an agenda post to because the media would never do these comments on the president who resigned, President Gay, because she's on their side, but suddenly there's dissent, and they say, oh, she did this plagiarism. If it was Gay, they'd make excuses like the AP did, but since it's the in group rather than that group, they'll just it's out group rather than in group in this situation, since they'll just find a way to just justify it. Then we have civil disobedience in Illinois as gun owners defy registration mandate from BearingArms.com by Charbonnet. And I definitely think that's libertarian. And if you wanted to do any civil disobedience, I think that's definitely very libertarian. Then we have ballot cleansing. Democrats are moving to bar Republicans from ballots nationwide from JonathanTurley.org by Charbonnet. And I definitely don't think that's libertarian. I think libertarian, you let anyone who wants to be on a ballot be on a ballot. That's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have House Republican says he won't accept border deal because he might help Biden politically from BusinessInsider.com by Kage blah blah blah. And I definitely don't think that is libertarian either. Libertarians try to find solutions, not just political maneuvering, but that's all. Increasingly, it's all just political maneuvering these days. So that's why no one really cares anymore. Then we have let's see. Twitter blocks Japan's natural disaster account for posting too much during earthquake from ComicSans.com by Clorox. And I said, what happened to private businesses can do whatever they want. They reply, and Kyle replied, what happened to free speech absolutist Elon Musk? I would agree he was never praised free speech absolutist, but they would never call him out if it was the old regime doing this. That's what my thoughts on that issue is. Then we have opinion Trump to use the Secret Service to make money. Here's how taxpayers can respond from MSNBC.com by Kage blah blah blah. And I definitely think that's not good, but I definitely think it's an MSNBC Orange Man Bad headline. So, they all probably use government to grift, not just Trump. Then we have retiring House Republican says $174,000 is enough money for members of Congress. Most of us don't have wealth from BusinessInsider.com by Zachness. And, I said world's smallest violin moment IMO. I personally think all government work should just be volunteer work because, increasingly people are just going to use it to grift and enrich themselves. And that's what you see when it comes to Congress. Then we have a historian who uncovered Claudine Gay's alleged plagiarism speaks out. We found a pattern from 2009 chart that's linked to a Fox News story. And I definitely think that That's not good, and I'm glad that at least someone's trying to hold President K accountable, even if it's not for the most libertarian reasons. Because Fox News just doesn't like her because she's more on the DNC woke side. But yeah, I'm definitely glad someone's trying to hold her accountable. Then we have GOP Just Be Yourself from International Silver One. That's linked to part of a newspaper column. If you vote Republican because you fear socialism, then live your truth. Do not accept Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Avoid public beaches, parks, and libraries. Do not allow your children to attend tax-supported schools or to take advantage of food programs. Drive only on toll roads. Do not call 911 unless you intend to pay for services rendered. Allison Rennie, North Miami Beach. And I think, if people want to do that, they should be able to. But that's across from the political humor subreddit, by the way. But if they want to do that, they should be able to. But yeah, I definitely don't think they should be forced to do so. As long as you have things you can use, I think you should be able to use them even if you are against them, I would say. Then we have what the Fed accomplished, the economy, enrich the rich, and crush the middle class from charleshusmith.blogspot.com. And I agree, the Fed has never been that good for any of those. Then we have sympathy surging for January 6 rioters. 43% agree they had a point from WashingtonExaminer.com by Chabanay. And I personally don't really care for them. But I definitely think you might have had some federal entrapment there. And I don't think that was very libertarian either. And then I think we're see if there's anything else that's new. No, so we're gonna wrap it there. I'll see you guys next episode. Bye.